Hello everybody, welcome to Digium Live. My name is Brian Ferguson and I am your host. Today we will be talking to one of Digium's valued customers and one of our top resellers in the country just about a project that they worked together to solve some problems for them. And we'll walk through that timeline to see what the benefits were, what kind of challenges they overcame, so that others can benefit from their experiences. So I would like to introduce Warren Rogers from Quabbin Wire and Cable. Warren, welcome.
Thank you.
And also we have Matthew Hilton from AKUITY, who's one of our the best Digium partners that we have in the country. So welcome, Matthew.
Morning, Brian.
All right, so let's start with you, Warren. If you could just introduce yourself and tell us what you do and a little bit about your company.
Sure. I'm the network manager at Quabbin Wire and Cable. We manufacture low voltage bulk cable that gets used in networking applications, automotive applications, and general alarm systems and fire alarm systems.
Okay. And Matthew, how about you?
Sure. I'm a senior voice engineer as well as sales engineer for AKUITY Technologies. We've been in business since 1988. We provide complete IT solutions, one of which is Voiceover IP Technologies.
Okay, great. So, Warren, let's kind of start at the beginning. What kind of prompted you to look for a new phone system? Were you facing any particular challenges, your old system not doing what you wanted to do? What was going on?
We had an aging PBX system that had been in place for about 10, 15 years, and it was time to upgrade that system. So we were looking at a couple options to stay with a regular PBX or to go to a VoIP system. We wanted something that was a little more flexible that we could manage in-house. Traditional PBX systems were a little difficult. No one would allow us to do any of the maintenance on them, so you always had to call for add moves, changes. So we just needed to find a new system.
Okay. And what what system was it you were replacing? Do you remember?
Aiwatsu.
Aiwatsu. Okay. And were there any particular features that your employees were looking for that they didn't have, or was it all administration things in the background?
It was more administration and background stuff, setting up our own IVRs, setting up the voicemail and round-robin applications, if we were to use those. Also, we have a remote office in Illinois, so a voice-over IP allows us to give them a couple phones as well.
Okay, great. So tell us about what the evaluation process looked like. Who were you looking at, and what kind of things were you looking for?
We looked at a couple local vendors that took care of PBX systems. We looked at Cisco systems as well, and then also with AKUITY, we looked at a Digium solution as well, and for voice over IP. That was really the only voice over IP solution we looked at once we got down to the final process.
Okay. So Matthew, how did you become involved in the project?
Yeah, so we had a qualified lead come in, and basically they said basically what they just told you guys now, which is that they were kind of down to the wire. They knew they wanted a new PBX. They weren't quite sure what features they would take advantage of or utilize, but we went through our kind of standard sales pitch about all the value add that Digium can bring to the table, namely that all the features are included. And when we do that, it allows the customer to make more informed choices, we think, in that they don't have to worry about paying extra for something they don't know if they need right away or not. And so I think once we laid that value proposition out, that all the features were included, you can go ahead and try to use new call queues if you want, or new IVRs, and plus just showing them how easy the system was to use. I think it became kind of a no-brainer for them that this was the solution for them.
Okay, and Warren, you said you looked at Cisco. What kind of things stood out from Switchvox that kind of led you away from Cisco?
Cisco, it just for us it seemed a little proprietary, definitely much more expensive. So that was the price point was definitely a big factor for us as well. We're a smaller company, and it just Digium or the Switchvox solution seemed easier to use.
Okay. Were there anything from a network standpoint or infrastructure changes that you had to make to kind of get ready for this change, or were you guys ready to go?
We had a lot of things in place already. We had to replace a couple switches, a little more for managed switching, but otherwise the infrastructure was fine. So.
Okay. How about cost savings? Have you seen any cost savings to this point with Switchvox than you had over your old system?
Definitely, because we were at the same time we were kind of in the process of moving some offices around, so some people were getting relocated. We were having a lot of new employees come on, so we were able to do that, those add moves and changes without having to call a PBX vendor and have someone come in and charge us $300-400 per extension. So.
Right. Okay. Matthew, were there any particular deployment challenges from your side for this particular implementation?
As far as installation went, things went pretty smoothly actually at Quabbin. One of the difficulties that we always find is that mostly a lot of people that aren't experienced with voice or voice over IP in particular, they don't quite realize how much the network impacts their installation and their ongoing satisfaction for the system. So it's actually part of the reason why AKUITY got into the voice over IP space was we were doing a lot of network changes for people that were putting in phone systems that really had no idea that the network was the underlying structure to make that happen efficiently. So really, that's always the biggest challenge. As a consultant, you never really know if you're going to go into a clean network or a dirty network, or really how much administration work you're going to have into that network. So from this case, it was actually pretty straightforward. The network was pretty well put together from the get-go, and we had all the access we needed. So there weren't too many challenges, actually. Warren actually had a great game plan in terms of what he wanted the PBX system to look like, what new IVRs they wanted to have, what new call queues they wanted to implement. And so, really, this is actually probably one of the better, quicker installs. I think Warren would agree. Things went pretty smoothly.
Okay, good. So, Warren, let's talk about your users for a minute. Are there any particular features about Switchvox since they've had it that they're particularly enjoying from just an end-user perspective?
We do have a lot of users, especially in the engineering department, that actually forwards their calls to their cell phones because they're always on the shop floor. So this way they don't miss calls. And then we also have a lot of users that use the email notification that they have a voicemail because they're rarely at their desks. So that just alerts them to voicemails.
Right. All right. So Warren, if you had to, if you were giving any advice to people who are out looking for a new phone system today, what kind of advice would you give them as far as what to look for, how to get ready, just in general, based on your experience with this last deployment?
Definitely ease of use. As I mentioned, we're a small company. We have 2 people in the IT department, so we need something that's easy for us to use. It was low cost, and definitely easy of use was the biggest thing for us. And it's also a system that there's a lot of information about. There's a lot of people that know it. So we're not locked into one group that can service us.
Right. Okay, and for you, Matthew, if you're giving advice to somebody out there that's looking for a new system, what kind of things would you tell them on to get ready and what to look for?
Yeah, I mean, like I sort of mentioned already, the network is obviously the biggest component that I think a lot of customers are sometimes ill-prepared for. I mean, one of the reasons we've been a partner of Digium's as long as we have is just because it is so simplistic. You really don't need to be a telephony person in order to maintain the system. And I know there's a lot of other competitors that are out there that say they make things easier, and compared to a traditional telephone system like Warren's alluded to in the past, where you'd have to call the manufacturer in for even something simple as a move out or change. One of the things for me when I'm looking at voice systems is really just how easy is it to use, because most of them say they have it, but you really need to know what you're doing in the telephony space in order to actually do everything. So for me, the biggest thing is ease of use. And really, like I said earlier, the fact that you can have all the features included and not have to worry about, oh, I might want to try a call queue, but I'm afraid of how much it's going to cost just to try it. Having that flexibility to be able to go out and just try it and get your value add back that way is really beneficial.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, that does it for today's episode. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for the great information. I think a lot of people will find it very valuable. And so I appreciate your time today, guys.
Thank you.
All right. So that's it for today's episode of Digium Live. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And join us next time on the show for Digium Live.